What up, bitches? Welcome back to my channel, Sincerely Sam with Sam, and we are here with another Bookworm Bitches. So today's book is a book that I read a little while ago. It is a retelling of a classic fairy tale, but not really. It is Heartless. Now, this one is by Marissa Meyer, and this is, it's a retelling of the Queen of Hearts, basically. How she came to be the way that we find her in Alice in Wonderland. So I just have to say, I love this cover. It is gorgeous. I bought this book after I had read her Lunar Chronicles. The Lunar Chronicles I found to be great, so I thought, you know what, let's just keep going. Let's get this book. This one is more like a one-shot, or, you know, a standalone book, if you will. This is the only book you have to read. You don't have to have read the other ones. I'm not going to read the inside cover, but ooh, look at that. Gorgeous. Look at this. Like, that is... Ugh, I am a sucker for a good cover. But yeah, so you don't need to have read her other books in order to have read this one. I'm not gonna read the inside cover. I'm gonna put that down in the description below. This is going to be a non-spoiler book review, so feel free to stick around and find out if this book is right for you. We are going to base these books off of the 6 criteria as usual, which are pacing, storyline, characters, relatability, rereadability, and then the overall score. Let's start off with pacing. I don't know, it was kind of weird. I read half of this and then I had to listen to the last half of it for audiobook. So I kind of got both ends of this. In my opinion, audiobooks change your opinion on certain things, so that definitely did it for me for this. Pacing, overall, I found the pacing kind of change back and forth between slow and intriguing, so this one is a little bit trickier because, like I said, when you read it, it's very different from listening to it, because I tend to listen to it at a faster pace than most people because I find audiobooks can be really slow, so I listen to it faster. So because I listen to it faster, I don't know, I find like I found the beginning part very slow and took a while to get into, and then once everything got into it, it was, yeah. Overall, I mean, it was okay. I think I'm gonna give the pacing a 2.5 stars for this. I mean, it was probably about average, but I did find some parts definitely slowed down more than I would have liked. Storyline. Okay, so the storyline could have been really interesting. It is, you know, a prequel to, you know, the Queen of Hearts, how she became the way she is, how she became cruel and unfeeling and just overall hard-headed and hot-tempered. So it's all about how she became that. Now, in this book, the Queen of Hearts, she actually in this book goes by her name before she was known as the Queen of Hearts, which is Catherine Pinkerton. Not a big fan of the name, but that is besides me. Catherine, maybe, but she normally, yeah, Cath Pinkerton. So the storyline is pretty basic. It kind of gives an old worldly feel where it's like, you know, she is part of the court for the king, for the kingdom. She's part of the court, and she is all about being a respectable lady, and she doesn't want to disappoint her parents, but all she wants to do is bake. She wants to bake delicious pastries and all kinds of desserts, and that's not what her parents want for her. Her parents want her to marry, especially her mother. Her mother wants her to marry the king. That is very high expectations for someone, and so yeah, her mom is constantly pushing her in that direction where she just wants to bake. And then a jester comes into town and kind of swoops her up and kind of gets her dreaming and gets her all in a tizzle. And I think it could have been really, really interesting. The downside is that I found this book a little bit on the predictable side. There were certain things that obviously you were gonna know. Sorry guys, my memory card ran out just as I was finishing that up. So I believe it cut out when I was talking about storyline. Yeah, so the storyline I did find very predictable, and you know, there were some moments that I wish we got more of. I wish we got more of like a Wonderland feel to it, because there was a little bit. You do see some of the original characters like the Cheshire Cat and that sort of thing, but and of course the king, not the sharpest tool in the shed. But needless to say, I mean, he's in there. I mean, he's adorable, but at the end of the day, I found a lot of the story stuff a little bit on the predictable end of things. So yeah, you have Catherine who wants to be a baker. Parents want her to marry the king. She doesn't want to. This new guy comes into town, Jester, who ends up courting her in a way. And then you have like these really cool little side things going on that eventually come in. Overall, the storyline was okay. I definitely liked certain elements, but I did find some of it predictable, and I felt like she didn't go as far as I wanted her to, and as far as I know she's gone before. But yeah, I still found the storyline somewhat interesting, so I'm gonna give the storyline 2.5 stars. It's almost a 3, it's almost there, but I felt like it's only fair to kind of undercut it just a little bit, just because like I said, I wasn't a fan of the ending itself because that was very predictable, and I was just angry with it. So but yeah, let's move on. Characters. So like I said before, you have some great characters that you usually see or at least have heard of in Alice in the Wonderland. You've got the king, you've got Catherine, even though this is the first time you're hearing a first name. You have the Cheshire Cat, you have a Jabberwocky, you have the Walrus, you have a lot of characters, and the Caterpillar. So you have a lot of characters that you kind of know from Alice in Wonderland, but there is a lot of extra characters, like you're meeting Jester, you get to meet Marianne, who is Catherine's maid, who she has a great friendship with, and you have other fairy tales that are also coming into it, like Peter, Pumpkin Eater, and yeah, and you have the Mad Hatter, who in this book goes by Hatter, or Hatta. So there's that, but I wasn't entirely impressed with the names. Other than the ones that we already have, a lot of the names were pretty ordinary, which I wasn't expecting considering it's, you know, Wonderland. You know, you still have this fantastical type world and you still have these like little elements, but it was almost like a watered down version of Wonderland. It was still entertaining. I still loved it. I still loved some of the characters. A lot of them had a really interesting, cool backstory. Hatta has a backstory that I wouldn't think of, but it seems right for that character. You have the Cheshire Cat, who is very much like, you know, very much like it is in Alice in Wonderland. It's like that cat who wants to be petted and then, nope, don't pet me. You know, that cute little jerky, you know, kind of personality that can be infuriating. So there's that. There's there's some great depth, I think, to some of the characters, but then others, I think others didn't go as well. Like Catherine, I'm not a big fan of her name, first of all. Catherine Pinkerton is definitely not what I think the Queen of Hearts' name would be ahead of time. I think her character turned too abruptly. There wasn't like a growing sense of her personality. Sometimes she seemed a bit whiny through most of it. She seemed very much like, this is what I want, but she herself is not actively trying to make it happen. And the only thing is that she keeps, whining about the love life that she has or doesn't want. So, and then at the very end, it's not a spoiler, we all know she turns into the Queen of Hearts, but it was just like, it was just abrupt. And some people are like, oh, well, it's because of what happens, but I think it would have been, better, this is just my opinion, but I think it would have been better had it been a bit more gradual and it had a bit more of a inevitability kind of feel to it, rather than just, no, this is, but that's just me, rather than just snap, but that is just me, that's my opinion. I think I would have liked a bit more in that sense. I feel like we could have gotten more depth, more layers. I know I say it all the time when it comes to characters, but yeah, depth, levels, flaws, those are all super important to me when it comes to characters. And some had them, some didn't. So it's kind of just like, it's all over the place, but it's, it is what it is. So I'm gonna give characters a 3 stars. Because like I said, most of the characters did have really intriguing backstories and, whatnot. I wish they had dived a little bit more deeper into Catherine at points and at times, but overall, not bad. Relatability. So obviously fantasy books are a little bit harder to relate to. Some of the problems you try to get a sense of, so that way there's something for you to grasp onto, something for you to root for. So as far as the relatability goes for this one, I mean, this book has a lot of cliche lines in it, like when Catherine's asking why the king wants her and that sort of thing. They always use the line in classic romance books where it's like, oh, you're different. Well, what about, what if you're not as different? You're great, you're cool, but I feel like sometimes they use that line as a scapegoat rather than just diving into some actual traits and some actual, feelings between characters and stuff like that. So, but overall, I mean, everybody can kind of relate to the questions of dreams versus expectations. I did a book a while ago, The Huntress, where it was very much the same. It was, do you go for your dreams or do you go for what's expected of you? And this book, that's basically I feel like the main, core of it. She's expected to be married to the king, but all she wants to do is bake delicious treats. And this book is definitely filled with delicious treats, like the way it's described, the way it makes you hungry. She makes a lot of delicious sounding treats, and I wish I could have some. So relatability, I mean, yes, there's absolutely some relatable traits in there. So I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars, just because, like I said, there are some definitely relatable things in here. Some of the characters are relatable. Obviously, the fantastical things and the whimsical things is going to be able to relate to a Jabberwocky, in their town or whatever. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with giving it a 3. All right, our next one is Rereadability. So this book, it isn't a long book. It isn't super long, I don't think. Oh, it's fairly decent. It's about 450 pages. So 450 pages for this book. It's fairly decent sized. I hear the paperback is very tiny. The print is very, very tiny. This one is not, I mean, it's not too bad. It is what it is. I would say, I don't think that's an official ruling, but I mean, it could go either way. I mean, would I reread it right now? It's been a few months since I've read this. Would I reread it right now? Probably not. But that's not to say in like a couple of years or, whatever, I wouldn't reread it. I'm just not, I think this is one of the books where you'll only reread maybe twice. If you do, like I may read it for my daughter or something one day or whatever, but again, I can't, this one I think is the first one where I've been like, I don't want to say yes, but I don't want to say no. It's possible. I think that's what I'm gonna have to give it. Because right now I wouldn't, but that's not to say that maybe down the line I end up rereading it. But right now, no. But maybe. Oh my gosh, I can't give you a straight answer. Anyway, sorry, back on track. So, yes. So, overall, rereadability, maybe. And it all depends on your taste, too, right? Your taste, it changes. Yeah. And the overall score for Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I gave this book on Goodreads 4 stars. Why? Because overall it was enjoyable. Like I said, I did half of this book by reading it, half of this book by listening to it. So certain things were off, but certain things I really enjoyed. I enjoyed just kind of just following along and listening. At the end of it, I just sat back, I listened to it. Overall, I enjoyed it. Some things I wish were a little bit better. I thought the storyline could have been a little bit better. My rating on this is very generous. It very well could be closer actually to a 3.5. And you may be wondering, why did you vote it for 4 stars even though some of your other ratings on this was like 2.5, 3, and here's why. 1, because even though I did kind of read the first half and listen to the second half, it was a decent story. It was nice to kind of get a little bit of a backstory on the Queen of Hearts. It was nice seeing like little interesting things, why she likes red roses versus white roses. And it was really interesting to see her have an interest before everything, and it was nice to see the person behind it and know that you have some things that are relatable, but obviously to a grander and exaggerated state. But overall, it was written really, really well. Obviously, I love a lot of Marissa's books, so I knew her style going into it. Are there things that I wish I could change? Yes. Are there some things that angered me? Yes. But that's, you know, I feel like you have to take everything into account, and even though I wasn't a big fan of the ending because to a certain degree it was predictable or too abrupt or whatever, that's my opinion. So, but I want to hear your opinion on it. Did you read this book? Did you like it? Did you not? What did you or didn't like about it? And let me know in the comments down below and we'll talk about it, because overall I'm a fan of just books in general, and I'm willing to read anything. So like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button so that way you can be updated on when I upload videos next. And until next time, thank you for watching my channel. Sincerely, Sam with Sam. And we will see you in the next one, Book Bitches. Bye!